1. The stillness begins. Once, nestled between the shoulders of two sleepy hills, there lived a quiet river named Ruin. Ruin had flowed for centuries, cradled by wildflowers, lichen-streaked rocks, and gentle winds. Her current wasn't forceful, nor was it lazy, just right for the rhythm of the valley. The villagers nearby, those who knew to stop and watch, would often speak of Ruin as if she were an old friend who never changed, never rushed, and never left. Ruin didn't mind the talk. She had always known who she was. She flowed. That was enough. But one early morning, just after the crickets stopped singing and before the sun stretched fully into the sky, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic. There was no loud crash or lightning bolt. It was more like the moment when a thought slips from your mind and you're left staring at nothing, wondering what you were about to say. Ruin forgot how to flow. She simply stopped.
2. The echo of water. At first, the birds didn't notice. They still skimmed across her surface, dipping low for insects and singing into the dawn. The trees, half asleep themselves, kept whispering their slow wooden gossip. Even the stones at the river's edge, worn smooth by years of company, remained as they were. But the fish noticed. Tiny ones with scales like flecks of sun, and older ones with whiskered jaws and knowing eyes, they paused in the still water, confused. The current that had once nudged them gently forward had ceased. "Something's wrong," said an old catfish, to no one in particular. The river didn't reply. She didn't even notice the fish speaking. She was too busy listening inward, to the vast silence that had replaced the rush and murmur she once carried like breath. She thought, "Was I always this quiet? Wasn't there something I was meant to do?" But no answer came. 3. A visit from the wind. On the second day of stillness, the wind came to visit. He arrived like he always did, twisting through the trees, brushing across the grasses, dipping low to greet the water. But as he danced over Ruin's surface, he paused. "You're different," he whispered. "I am?" Ruin asked, though her voice sounded distant even to herself. "You used to greet me with ripples and laughter. Now you just lie here like a mirror." "I think I forgot," Ruin said. "Forgot what?" "How to flow." The wind swirled in thought. "Maybe you need reminding." And with that, he pushed and blew and rustled and whirled, hoping his movement would awaken her memory. But no matter how much he danced, the river stayed still. 4. The river remembers others. Days passed, then a week, then more. People from the nearby village came with puzzled faces. They stood at the banks with their woven baskets and empty pails, murmuring confusion. The old mill no longer turned. The stepping stones that once peeked from below the surface now sat exposed, dry and solemn. And yet the river lay silent, neither sad nor angry, just still. Ruin thought about the past. She remembered the girl who once fell asleep on her bank after a heartbreak, tears mixing with river water until both were one. She remembered the boy who built paper boats and whispered dreams into their sails. She remembered the deer who drank from her during moonlit nights, and the trees who leaned just slightly closer each season, as if listening, Was that what I was for? To carry things? To comfort? To help the world move gently onward? Still, she couldn't feel the current.
5. A stone named Garan. One morning, a stone in Ruin's bed spoke. His name was Garan, an old granite boulder smoothed over by centuries of touch. He had seen rivers freeze and flood, grow shallow and wild, but this pause felt different.
You seem lost, Garan rumbled.
I am, Ruin admitted.
Perhaps you're looking in the wrong direction.
What do you mean?
Rivers always look ahead. They chase the horizon. But your flow isn't something you remember with your mind. It's something you trust with your being.
But I feel disconnected.
Then connect again.
How?
Garan was quiet for a long time, as stones often are. Then he said, "Don't try to move. Just listen." So Ruin did. She stopped questioning. She stopped forcing. She simply listened. To the wind in the reeds, to the birds overhead, to the shift of soil beneath her banks. And somewhere deep, beneath the stillness, she felt something stir. 6. The rain's arrival. On the 21st day of stillness, the rain came. It wasn't a storm, just a steady fall of soft drops, like fingers tapping gently on an old drum. The rain didn't ask questions. It didn't judge. It simply arrived and fell, as it had always done. Each drop landed with a small splash that rippled across Ruin's surface. The ripples met one another, echoing tiny movements. A rhythm returned. Something inside Ruin woke, not fully, but enough. She whispered to the rain, "You remembered me." And the rain, in its own way, replied, "I never forgot." That night, under cloud-thick skies, the river hummed. It was faint, like the echo of a lullaby remembered in the back of the mind. Not yet a current, but a beginning.
7. The elder willow. At the bend of the river stood an elder willow tree, whose roots curled into Ruin's edge like fingers clinging to memory. The willow had watched over the river longer than most remembered. She spoke seldom. "You were never broken." "I stopped flowing," said Ruin. "Only on the surface. But that's all anyone sees. What matters flows deeper than sight." Ruin stilled herself, feeling for the truth in those words. Beneath her surface, beneath the silt and sand, a thin trickle still moved, faint but real. "You are healing," the willow said.
8. The path within. In the silence of her own reflection, Ruin found space she had never explored. Without motion, she was able to hear more, feel more. She felt the shape of the land, the patience of the trees, the ache of the rocks. She remembered who she had always been, not a conveyor of things, but a part of a whole, a listener, a keeper of secrets, a thread through time. And slowly, without realizing, she began to shift. Not all at once, not with fanfare, but gently, like breath returning after grief. A trickle became a ripple became a current.
9. A new kind of flow. By the time summer began to end, the villagers noticed something. The mill turned again, slowly at first, then steadily. The fish resumed their silent dance. Children returned to throw stones and watch them skip across ruin's gentle surface. She flowed again. Not quite the same, slower perhaps, but more aware. The world hadn't asked her to be fast or forceful. It had simply asked her to be.
10. The lesson she left. Years passed. Decades. Ruan continued her quiet journey through the valley, past meadows and mossy stones. People came and went. Trees grew and fell. But those who lingered long enough would often say the river felt wise. And maybe she was, because she had once forgotten how to flow. And in forgetting, she had learned something deeper. That sometimes, stillness is not the end of movement. It is the place it begins. The end.